Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is truly a privilege and an honor to get to be with you all today. The last few days, first getting to see so many familiar faces and getting to connect with so many of you for the first time. It's something that has been truly a privilege, and just you're all so beautiful. And just the last two days have been absolutely extraordinary. So long before I became a naturopathic physician, a doctor of naturopathic medicine, long before I began coaching leaders from all walks of life, all the way up to billionaires, to remove the invisible emotional, mental, and energetic performance blocks that are holding them back, keeping them stuck, and sabotaging their business goals, their relationships, their happiness, their peace, their fulfillment. And long before I facilitated transformative healing for people when nothing else was working, there was one moment, there was one decision that completely altered the trajectory of my entire life. And this moment has become a butterfly effect that has impacted well over 1 million lives around the planet. And today I'm going to share a story with you. And this story is your wake-up call. It's the wake-up call that you didn't know that you needed. And I ask you to bring your full presence here, to listen deeper than you've ever listened before, to listen like your life depends on it, because it does. I want you to consider this. The present moment version of you sitting here today is the past of future you. And that future that you desire requires a very specific version of you right now in this present moment. I often tell my clients that the present moment is pregnant with the next moment. And so if you want a better tomorrow, you have to create a better today. And if you want a better today, you have to create a better now. The present moment is the seat of transformation, it's the seat of power, it's the seat of change, and it is the only time you can ever affect your life. And so I truly ask you to please listen to this story about you, bring your full presence, listen powerfully, and if you're willing to do that, can you please raise your hand and say yes? Yes. Fantastic. So I was 19 years old. I'm from New York. I was going to college in New York City in the Bronx. I was in my sophomore year of school. And I was part of this pre-med group. And every year, they have to go to Albany, which is the capital, to fight to keep their funding. And they go to a few students and they say, hey, you're one of the students in the program, you're getting value from this. Would you come to Albany? Would you represent? Would you share your experience? And I said, I'd be happy to. Thank you. So by Tuesday night, I've already said yes. My intuition begins whispering to me. I find that that's often how it starts. And the intuition says, something's not right, don't go. How many of you have heard that intuition and ignored it? Yeah, usually a bad idea, right? And so something's not right, don't go. I didn't think much of it, just kind of walked it off, rest of the day, regular day. And then Wednesday came, and it got louder. Something's not right, don't go. And I thought, well, I already told them I'm going to be there, so I just kept living my day. And then on Thursday, it was yelling at me. Something's not right, don't go. And by Thursday evening, I thought, well, I've already told them I'm going to be there. Can I really just back out of it? And it felt so strong that I had this knowing that I would regret it if I didn't. And so I answered that call. And I sent an email and I said, I'm so sorry, something came up and I won't be able to be there. So Friday, they left. The group was going to leave Friday morning and come back Sunday night. Friday they leave, regular day. Saturday, regular day. By Saturday night, I'm thinking, well, whatever that was, I guess that was nothing. Sunday morning changed my entire life. Sunday morning, I wake up, and within about 5 minutes of waking up, my father had a brain aneurysm. And for any of you who are not sure what that is, I want you to imagine a blood vessel in the brain, think of it like a tube, starts to balloon out. And if you're fortunate, you have one of the worst headaches of your life, you go to the hospital, hopefully they're able to take care of you, and you get to go home. My dad wasn't as fortunate, and his brain aneurysm ruptured. And he was in the bathroom behind a locked door, and I broke the door down to get him out. And if I wasn't home, he would have died that morning. We rush to the hospital. He's in this 4-hour brain surgery. And I'm being told, as well as my family, by the nurses, the other doctors, hey, he's probably not going to make it. And I know, in hindsight, they were meaning well. They were trying to prepare us. But obviously, it's the last thing you want to hear. And so we were doing everything we could. I was trying to be there for my family and care for them. We were praying, anything we could be doing. And 4 hours go by. And we were told by the neurosurgeon it was the worst brain aneurysm he'd ever seen. He put his survival at less than 5%, and he survived. I walked into the room after his surgery. He was in a coma. It was the most vulnerable I've ever seen a human being, without being too graphic. Tubes, machines, wires coming out of everywhere. And we were being told he could die at any moment. Now, I was 19, as I said. My father was 49 years old. He was a family practice physician. He was also one of the top Elvis impersonators in the world. He's toured with Elvis Presley's band. He's in the Elvis Presley Hall of Fame. He was a truly beautiful soul. And he would say, my colleagues have golf, I have Elvis. And he would do these giant shows, and he had the greatest bedside manner ever. Everybody loved him. And he did these massive things for charity. It was so beautiful. And so there he was, laying in this bed, and I'm being told he could pass at any moment. And two primary experiences occurred for me. The first was this sense of helplessness. It felt like, based on what I was being told, that we were just waiting for him to die. It felt like there was nothing that we could do. And second, there was this profound sense of regret. There was a regret that I felt like I didn't know my father the way that I would have loved to. At the time in my life, my priorities were my friends and sports. I was a track athlete. It was movies. It was video games. It was just hanging out. It wasn't, let me get to know my father man to man, soul to soul. It wasn't the way I thought at the time. And now there I was in this moment thinking, I really blew it, and that I wasn't going to have another opportunity. And we were very fortunate that he survived for 3 years before he did pass away. He was in a coma for several months. And over these 3 years, I had some of my highest highs and some of my lowest lows. On the one hand, I feel very fortunate that prior to this, I loved my dad, he loved me. We would have dinner together most nights as a family, but he was always working. And I was either doing my own thing or I was with my mom, so I didn't really know him as well as I would have liked to. And so in these 3 years, I got to spend 10 to 15 hours a day with him. I took several years off from college to be one of his primary caregivers. And if any of you have been in that primary caregiver role for an extended period of time, you know that it can really weigh on you physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all across the board. And he needed somebody to be with him 24/7. He was prone to seizures, memory issues, balance issues, all these kind of things. And I remember he became one of my best friends. I got to know him deeper than I ever had before, and I felt so grateful. We did everything together, physical therapy, went for walks. We both loved to sing, and he's a drummer. It was just an incredible experience. And at the same time, I had some of my lowest lows. There were moments where he forgot who I was after I'd been spending all this time taking care of him, and I'm arguing with him that I'm not his nephew. And as you can imagine, it felt like the ground beneath me was just taken out. There were times where he's having 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute seizures in my arms. And he's a 200-pound guy, and my phone's across the room, and I don't know what to do. And if I were to just be silent, that was about 5 seconds. So now imagine if I just stood here for 5 minutes. And you see how long 5 minutes really is. He almost died in my arms a couple hundred times. The amount of times we went to the hospital, we didn't know if he was going to make it. And so at some point along that journey, I started to think about the magic, the miracle, the gift that is today. Every day, as last I checked, every day 150,000 people don't wake up. Every one of you woke up today. And every one of you, some or most of the people in your life who matter most to you, woke up too. And yet, for most of us, we live our life from this perspective that something extraordinary or out of the ordinary has to happen just for us to be happy, or for life to be good or okay. And so I started to live every day as if it was my last, because it very well might be. I started to prioritize the relationships and the people in front of me. to make the most of this experience. And every night I would bring my dad to bed. And before I tucked him in, he would always say the same thing. Take care of your mother, take care of your sister. And then as I would walk away, I would have a thought. I wonder if that was the last time I'm going to see my dad. And so every day that I woke up and he was there, I started to think to myself, okay, Dad's here now. He might not be tomorrow. He might not be here later today. So how can I make the most of this moment? I also started to have this thought, and this is in hindsight. I would look at my dad, and the thought would cross my mind, when am I going to get my dad back? Because let's say he was between 40 and 60, 40 and 70% of what he used to be, physically, cognitively. And what I didn't realize at the time is what that thought was doing. What that thought was doing is it was having me look at this beautiful soul in front of me and label him unconsciously as deficient, defective, not good enough, as he was. So there I was looking at this person, waiting for him to be something different. And I find that many of us do that without even meaning to. And so I told myself, what if this was the best he'd ever get? And what if I could just fully accept him and fall in love with him as he is right now? And when I stepped into that, that changed everything for me. I then started to show up as fully as I knew how to with everybody. And I started getting some of the greatest compliments of my life. I've gotten to hug many of you and hopefully many more, because I'm known for my hugs. And one of my cousins said to me, I love your hugs so much. Every time you hug me, I feel like you're never going to see me again. And I remember getting tears in my eyes, and that just hit me right in the heart, because that's what I was going for without putting words to it. Then there was this restaurant that my family would frequent. And there was this gentleman that I only met him probably 3 or 4 times. And whenever I'd see him, I'd walk over to his table, we'd talk for a few minutes, and I would just be with him fully. And I would just listen and show up for him. And then the last time I ever saw him, I was with my family. I spoke to him maybe for 5 minutes earlier that day. He walked up to the table, he put his hand on my shoulder. I turned around, and he just said, I'm heading out. I just want you to know, every time I'm with you, I remember who I really am. I often tell people your presence is medicine, and how you show up can change everything. So I continued to live my life as well as I knew how to in this way. And at the end of the 3rd year, my father passed away. And I remember being at his wake, and over 7,000 people came. And I shook every single person's hand. And about 90 to 95% of those people said, your dad saved my life. And I was so humbled by the impact that this man had. Most of them hadn't seen him since he was 49. He passed around 52. And on the one hand, I felt just, wow, what an impact. That would be incredible to do something like that. And on the other hand, I had this profound sense that I had been playing small, that I was afraid of rejection, that I cared way too much about what other people thought about me. And as a result of that, I was dimming my shine. I was robbing the world of who I could be, because what if you didn't like me? And what I find is that one of my top 3 favorite words is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a Greek word. It comes from entheos or antetheos, and it means the God within. And when you're radiating enthusiastically, you radiate that divinity, that divine spark that is you, the thing that makes you unique. You radiate that out into the world. Now, I found that what most of us do is we wear a mask. And the mask says, who do I need to be for you to love me? Who do I need to be accepted, to be part of the crowd, part of the group, to be special, whatever that might be. And the problem is, even when you think you win that game, they like me. You still lose, because at some level you know they don't even know you. They know who you're pretending to be. And that's why you live your life feeling like something feels like it's missing. Something is missing. You. You're missing from your life. And so I started to shift the way that I was living my life even more. And I made a commitment that I'm going to show up fully. And as I know better, I'm going to do better. Now, 2 of my cousins passed away in those 3 years that we were taking care of my father. One was 20 and one was 21. Both were sudden. And if you asked either gentleman when they were, let's say, 18 years old, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What is it that you hope will happen in your life? I can be fairly certain that neither one would say I'd be dead in the next few years. And there's this Buddhist philosophy I got exposed to early on in my life. The problem is you think you have time. And so as a result, we procrastinate and we live our life for tomorrow. And we keep holding ourselves back. You know, so many of the speakers over this weekend have been sharing different versions of that. And so I remember after my dad's passing, I had some family come to my house. And it was an aunt and an uncle. We're very close, grew up together. They moved away when I was a teenager. And this is a very unique experience because they were there from a Monday to a Sunday. And every evening from around 7 or 8 p.m. until about midnight, we'd all meet in the living room and we would have these profoundly beautiful and deep conversations. There was tears, there was laughter, there was so much joy. And at the end of that weekend, they're pulling out of the driveway. And as they leave, I'm waving. And the thought crosses my mind. If that was the last time I'd ever see them, that was worthy of being the last time. And I want you to think about your own life, your own loved ones, the people that are important to you. If the last time you saw them was the last time you'd ever see them, was it worthy of being the last time? Or would you want a do-over? Would you want one more chance? And the thing is, right now, you have that opportunity, whether you're going to see them soon, a phone call, a text message, a voice message, just letting them know how much you care about them, how much they mean to you. Because there's a question I ask people, how much time do you have left? And we all have the same answer, I don't know. And so when you're born, let's say you have this metaphorical hourglass, and the moment you're born, it gets turned over and that sand begins to drain. And we all begin with different amounts of sand at the top. So the question is, however you're spending your sand, is that worth it? Is that meaningful for you? I often say to people, create a meaningful and blessed day. Or if I don't think I'll ever see them again, I might say, create a meaningful life. And I had someone say to me one day, how do I do that? And I said, well, you create a meaningful life by creating a meaningful day. And you create a meaningful day by creating a meaningful moment. And a meaningful moment is a moment where you step forward based on an action and a future that is important to you. And when you do a string of meaningful moments, you create that meaningful day. When your head hits the pillow, you say, wow, what a day. And when you have a string of those days, you ultimately create a meaningful life. That makes sense? Yeah. And so what I would love to do right now is I want to give each of you an opportunity to journal, and then we'll have a sharing exercise after. I'm going to give you 2 questions, and I'd like you to write these down, please. So the first question that I'd like you to be with is, what am I no longer willing to tolerate going forward? What am I no longer willing to tolerate going forward? This could be a state of being. It could be a quality. It could be a boundary violation. It could be how other people treat you, how you treat yourself, how you've been showing up or not. What am I no longer willing to tolerate going forward? And the second question is, what is one positive action I can begin today that aligns with the future I desire? What is one positive action I can begin today that aligns with the life that I desire? There's nothing too big, nothing too small. What is one positive action I can begin today that aligns with the life that I desire? Remembering that the version of you are today is capable of creating the life you have today. That's why you have it. But in order for you to create the life you want in the future, you have to become the version of you who can have that life. You can begin it with your imagination. As Napoleon Hill said, everything's created twice. First in the mind, and then in actuality. What's one positive action I can begin today that aligns with the future I desire? Let's take another minute or so if you need it. What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Qualities, states of being, ways I treat myself, talk to myself, how I treat and talk to others, how I'm showing up in the world, boundaries that may be being violated, relationships that are no longer serving. And what is one positive action I can take today that aligns me with my desired future? Perfect. And so what I invite you to do now is to please partner up. You can have someone right next to you, 2 people, 3 people if needed. And I'd like you to just share, if you're open to it, what are you no longer tolerating? How will things be different going forward? What is it that you're going to be beginning immediately? So, I highly encourage each and every one of you, as scary as it might feel, as daunting as it might seem in the moment, to take the mask off. You know, there's an old quote, you were born an original, don't die a copy. Yeah. I have a podcast I created, I call it Transformation Starts Today. And I call it that because I find that most people's favorite day to change their life is tomorrow. And that's why they stay stuck. But you can be different. You can allow this moment to be your wake-up call. You can allow this moment to be the moment where you live more, where you love more fully, where you show up and be that authentic expression of you. And if you do that, the rest of your life will absolutely be the best of your life. It has been such an honor and a privilege to get to support you. Thank you for having me. And I'll leave you with my second favorite word, which is namaste. When I had learned that word, there were so many different definitions for it. And the one that resonated most with me, my soul honors your soul. I honor the place in you where the entire universe resides. I honor the light, love, peace, beauty, and truth within you, because it's also within me. In sharing these things, we are the same, we are united, we are one. Love you all. Thank you very much.